let's see what's in this tiny link. Okay, so again, we're now going to take some of the functionality that's in the controller, and we simply going to go and say this. So we're gonna go say query, take the tiny link, split it, and take the last one, and then now we can just simply ask the tiny link repository get tiny link by hash. So at this point, if the tiny link is not null, what did we do in the controller? So first we get the tiny link, and then we try to see if there's already a record for the visit. So now let's see if there is a record for the visit. So if the visit, let's see if there's an object here. If the visit repository get visit by query, and then we're going to create a new visit query, and then we're going to just simply say we just need to add an async here. So now basically we get the hash, and then we try to get the tiny link, and based on that tiny link we're going to try and see if there's already a visit that exists for this. So we'll just store the visit here. So we'll store the visit and we'll do an await here, and then depending on the await, if this visit does exist, right, and this again is a big nullable, so at this point, if there is no tiny link, we simply just return string.empty. We don't need to bother about doing anything else from here, because we know there is no tiny link that exists. The truth is we should probably actually throw an exception. Let's rather throw a new argument exception, and then we can just say tiny link not found, because that would mean somebody's trying to access something that's not in the database yet. Okay, so at this point we've checked whether the tiny link does exist. It does exist, and then we try to get the visit, and then if the visit is null, then that means we need to create a new visit. So let's go and say visit repository, add a new visit with a count of 0, and just await this for our response is equal to await, or we can just say new visit response or new visit response. And then what will happen here is we can simply just say return the original URL of. So we don't actually care about this, so we simply just go and we just record that this thing has been visited, this URL that's coming in now, and then we return whatever the tiny link's original URL is. And then if this is not null, then that means we just need to say visit count plus modify date UTC, await the update, and that's pretty much it. And then we just need to return the original URL. So now what we're basically doing is, we can simplify this, so we can use coalesce. Sorry, I forgot about this. So in C#, in the new C#, you can just this double these double question marks just mean coalesce. So if this is null, it will just automatically do whatever else is that. So instead of having to use if, we can use this. So it reduces nesting as well. Another thing is, if you ever see a question mark in front of something, it means that it's a nullable type. So this over here just means that there is a type of nullableness. That just means it can be either null or it can be a value, and the question mark means don't complain about the nullable. Okay, so at this point, I think we should pretty much have everything that we need in order for us to continue. So let's see here, we have a few problems over here. So we should now be able to simply go and inject a service in here. Tiny link service, and we simply just give it an underscore. And then all that we now have to go and do is go say, okay, var tiny link, create tiny link. What does this take? Oh, it takes a command. So we have to go create the command. Let's go create the command based on this. So that will give us that. And now we can simply just go use the service, create the command, and then return okay, tiny link. So at this point, we're able to create this link, and that will simply just create the instance of this. So we'll briefly go over what actually is going on over here when we're done with the implementation for this. And then from here, we should just be able to delete all of this code and just go and say, what does the tiny link service need to get this link, to query the or get original link? It simply needs a new tiny link. So at this point, oh, so we need some of that code that was there. Let's see, Control Z. So the only code that we really need from here are these two lines. The rest of it should be fine if it goes. So I will leave that split as there as well, but I don't even think we need that. So tiny link. We might actually have to split the getting of the link and recording the link in two separate places, because this is adding additional items that it's not actually supposed to. So we'll do that shortly. New query link device will be, we'll add that as the user agent. The hash will be the hash. Let's see what's actually inside of this definition. So we need the tiny link itself. So we just need to say q.tinylink. IP address equal to, oh yeah, this is another thing. We need lowercase IP address. Variables must always start with IP with a lowercase initial. And then over here, we just need to say tiny link equal to q.tinylink. So what this is going to do is it's actually just going to get the original link. So then we're going to await this. And then we need to change, first and foremost, we need to make the iAction result. So we'll go into more detail shortly into the different types of return responses and what the verbs are, post and get. So let's just see how this looks now. So we'll go into task, and then this basically is going to allow us to go and call await in this. And now we should have the original link, and then we can just redirect to this. But a couple of changes that we're going to have to make in here is we first need to record the change before we actually try to redirect. We're trying to do two things in one method, so that's a direct violation of the server. So the first thing here is we actually need to go and create a separate async task, and we can just call it a boolean. And then we need to record, well actually we don't need any responses, we just need to record the visit. Okay, let's just see what do we need to get a visit. we can pass in the same parameters that's passed in over here, and then at this point all of this should actually be under here. So we're gonna need this over here, but on this one we're not returning any items. We simply need these two lines for this. Yeah, so this will allow us now to first go and record something before we try to facilitate. Why would visit be now here? Oh, I see. So we need to exit this condition. Okay, so over here now we have a task to just record the visit, and we just need to pull that up into the item. So you can just press Control Dot to give suggestions. If you press Control Dot, it will do all the other items that you need it to do, or give you other suggestions as well. So now what we actually need to go and do here is we need to first create the query. So we can say var query is this, and then we need to first try and record. So tiny link service record visit, record the fact that we attempting to visit this, just await that. We don't need any response from it, and then we can try to get the original link based on that. So then we no longer need this. We can change this to a var, and that should pretty much be it. So what's actually happening here is, first and foremost, in a controller we have different types of verbs, HTTP verbs. So a post is to create a new item. A get is to query the database, or to ask for something from the database. That's why we often have query and command. And then we also have stuff like HTTP put. Put is for update. And then we also have a HTTP delete, which deletes something from the database. Now what we basically doing over here is, let's just return this. So what we're doing over here is we've created a service, and now rather than depending on a physical implementation of an iTinyLink service, we're depending on an iTinyLink service, which is an abstraction, i.e. an interface. And both of these depend on two interfaces as well, again abstractions, and each of these abstractions depend on their own item, which is the physical, the database, and the database is also a type of abstraction. Now the important thing to understand about dependency injection is, with dependency injection it always needs to start from the root. So the root item here is the linked database that's injected into the repository, and then the repositories each have access to that, and now the tiny link service uses the repositories, and then the controller uses the servers. Now the reason why this is important is because when we register our services, it needs to be in the right order, otherwise it will break. So let's go and register our services. So we've added our items in here at the moment, and what we can now go and do is simply just say builder.services.add. So the database is registered first always, then we're going to say scoped. Now it's important here to understand that there's different types of items, right? So we had add scoped, we have add transient, and we have add singleton. Now the difference between the three is, with singleton there's only one initialization, which is another form of a design pattern of that throughout the entire application. It will use the same response every single time. So if it creates an instance, it will check if it's null, if that instance is null, and if it is, it will create that instance, but if it's not null, it gives you the same instance. This is fine because it's very memory efficient, but over time it can build up memory leaks. Then you get scoped, which means every time a request comes into the API, so when we send a post request or get request, it will use that same request throughout the entire request, and all the objects inside of that will be the same. Then we get transient. So scope is the most commonly used. And then we get transient. Transient is it will create a new instance of every object in the request every single time. So this is very inefficient. It's more used for when you have like a type of scope where the application itself is stateless. It doesn't care about the state of the application. It just runs as is. So we're gonna add this as scoped. And first we need to add the I repository. So we need to go and add in the I TinyLink repository, and then we're gonna say for this TinyLink repository, please use this repository. And then we need to do the same thing for the other repository, add scoped, and then we're gonna say I TinyLink or visit repository, visit repository. So this always goes in the order of give me the interface. For this interface, which one implements this? Now, there's different kinds of ways that this can work, that you can inject this. But for now, all that you have to think about is here's an implementation, and every time we ask for, here's an interface, and every time we ask for this interface, give us this concrete implementation. And then whenever you need to inject this, like for example in the service, when it needs it, it will simply just give you an instance of this object. You no longer have to worry about saying new or anything like that. It simply just knows how to do it, and the middleware takes care of the rest of the stuff. You no longer need to worry about like the physical implementation. As long as it's been registered and the link is there, it will simply spin it up automatically. We'll see this in a moment on how it works. But the most important thing here is the order. If the order is not correct, then it will not work. You are going to run into issues if the order is incorrect. So let's see this now using this. And then over here, let's see if we can simply just run this now. Okay, so it's spun that instance up, so everything is still working. So let's just go and say we want to look at, I don't know, let's create a new link, Amazon. So we want to go and look at books. Not now, Google. So we'll just open up a new link over here and see if we can create a very long link that's here. Or for example, we want to send our search engine or search query to somewhere, to a friend or something, but we don't want to send this whole long link because it looks terrible. So what we instead do is we go and record an item, and what that's going to do is it's going to create a new item. So again, it does exactly the same thing in the background. So we'll step through this shortly. So now we have this tiny link, and we can simply go and see in the database, was it recorded like previously? And yes, it was recorded. Here we have the entire value, we have the hash, but there is no second visit. So let's see if we can get a second visit. Copy this, put this in here, try this out, and then let's see if we can get a visit. So again, it probably did go and record the visit now. So if we go there and then go to visits, we can see there is a new entry in the record. Again, it's over here. This is the link that it's related to, and this is the number of times it's been viewed. So let's try now open this in a new row or in a new tab, and we can see Amazon. So it's able to redirect, and now this should have actually changed. So you can see here visits have been updated, and it should repeat this as exactly the same number of times. So you can see the power of dependency injection, or Solid as a whole with dependency inversion. It's very, very powerful, and it allows us to build complex systems without having to worry about the nitty-gritty details of how are we going to new this up and all the low-level details. That's why it's important to understand Solid and understand all these different principles, because it allows us to build code that's much easier to read. We focus on, again, the importance of not repeating ourselves, keeping it simple. This makes our code much better, easier to read, and on top of that, it allows us to build complex systems in a very easy and easy to read manner so that other developers will understand exactly what we're trying to achieve. So that's really it from that perspective. Let's see if we can now go and change this. So I think the connection string over here, if this is seeing it as over here, in theory, that would mean it's gone back 3 folders, which means it would have actually been in here to begin with. So I think if we go and simply just close this and then cut this away from here and then just put it in here, tiny link, and paste over this, it should replace it. Oh, the application is still using it, so let's stop the application and then let's try again. Replace the file in the destination, and then let's see if in source those files are here. So we don't actually need this, we can just delete it. Collections, best practices, tiny link. Now the only difference is we just need to update the connection string to simply just be this. Then I think this should still work. So let's try spin this up. That hopefully should have worked. Yeah, I think it still looks good. So again, we can probably just open up the database again. Open database. Best practice tiny link. Let's open this up and then just browse the data. Oh, it didn't save that changes. It's because I pasted over the database itself. But let's see if we create a new link in here again. We should have first saved. So again, we'll just open up this. Yeah, we got an error because it doesn't exist yet. So let's just go and say Amazon again. Search for this, copy this, and then we can just simply create a new link of this. Yeah, so now it should have created the link. So if we go and say tiny links now, it is looking at the correct database and the correct path. And then again, we can go and just look this up. Yeah, so then it will record that item into the DB on the correct place now. So we can just go and just put this again and try to view it now. Great, so now we've redirected and we've seen where that goes, and this in the DB should now also be updated. So yeah, whenever, just make sure that before you close the application itself, close the database. So yeah, let's just see before. So now we've fixed that, so at this point we should just be able to close the database, so that should be fine. And then when we come here, we can just remove this line, and then let's just focus on renaming and giving good variable names. So first and foremost, this is a connection string, so try to be explicit about your intent and what you're trying to show to the audience. Let's go into the timing controller. This is a create tiny link request, and that is what we're trying to do here. Nobody knows what R is. Here we're saying get, or this is just a tiny link request to get the item. So we can go and say, hey, this is what we're trying to do here. And then we need to remove comments that are unnecessary. Code should not have comments unless, if it has comments, then that means your code is difficult to understand and you need to refactor it. So make sure you have little to no comments in your code. Your code should be self-explanatory. That's why we have proper naming variable. We need to name our variables properly. We need to be concise, and it must be easy for someone to read what exactly is going on in your application. So that's it for this course. That's it for this module. I hope you guys enjoyed the specific module. It has been a great learning experience, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next module where we'll go over all other stuff. I'm going to push all of these changes to the answer branch. It should be 0 to hero answer branch. So yeah, that should be it. Thank you guys so much, and I appreciate you all for being, and I hope you've learned a lot from this. Cheers.